The Evil Dead franchise holds a special place for the horror fans, and the Deadites are easily one of the biggest threats of the chaotic world in the series. The creation of the Deadites came in multiple forms, and the first few movies involved the cursed Necronomicon, creating these possessed undead entities. Later, in Evil Dead 2013 and Evil Dead Rise, the Deadites were simply tools to fulfill certain rituals in the books that could bring a stronger entity. Overall, their existence has been the highlight of the franchise, and in this video, we will delve into the details of Deadite Anatomy and bring you everything there is to know about their unique physiology. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. How did the Deadites first originate? Although the first movie back in 1981 introduced the Deadites, they were only identified by this particular name from Evil Dead 2. It is believed that they first originated as the souls of wicked humans, who were corrupted in the darkest depths of hell. The Kandarian demon discovered these cursed spirits and found a way to channel their evil nature and unleash it on the mortal world. Another theory regarding the origin of the Deadites suggests that the Dark Ones created them. The Dark Ones are known as these mysterious creatures that have existed for centuries and ruled the earth, using their dark magic at some point. According to the notion, the first Deadite was a cursed human who went by the name Faceless Man, and the Deadites were basically used as soldiers to keep humanity in check and to extend the rule of the Dark Ones. Finally, when the Dark Ones were banished from the world of the living, so were the Deadites, and they became trapped within a prison realm called the Mirror Dimension. How does a Deadite possess individuals? For an easier understanding, you can consider Deadites to be a species of undead parasitic demonic spirits that feed on the souls of living creatures by possessing their bodies. Thus, one of the most important powers of a Deadite spirit is to possess a creature of flesh, and this creature can be both living or dead. One of the most commonly used forms of possession is when the Kandarian demon picks a desired target and injects it with the spirit, but there are some other methods as well. For instance, a bite or scratch from a Deadite can cause a slow infection. This is how the right hand of Ash Williams was infected at one point. He chopped off his arm to prevent a total infection. The infection can also affect the potential host, who is injured in an area where a lot of supernatural activity takes place. The Deadite possession can also be carried forward using blood contamination. This has been observed in the case of Bridget, who suffered from a slow infection after Ellie, her Deadite mother, stabbed her with the same tattoo gun that she used to stab her own face. There have been instances where the infection has been passed on by touch, such as when Ash warned Colorado Park Ranger Erin against touching the body of her possessed brother. When she ignored the warning, she went through her own transformation shortly and turned into a Deadite. Of course, the most simple method of Deadite possession is reading the right spell from the Necronomicon, as this would cause instantaneous possession without even the need to summon the Kandarian demon. So powerful is the Necronomicon in this regard that even the blood tears of the Necronomicon had the potential to infect both the living and the dead. Is there any respite for humans from Deadite possession? The possession of a Deadite can be ended, but that doesn't really mean that the creature will be back to its original form. For instance, in the case of humans, even if someone is released from their possession, the evil nature of the Deadites taints them permanently. Their flesh and blood is contaminated in a way, and even other supernatural creatures such as werewolves and vampires are aware of how these humans are no longer potential prey. So there is no going back to normal, even if the possession is terminated by some means. How powerful are the Deadites? What are some of their supernatural abilities? The Deadites have a wide range of supernatural abilities at their disposal, which adds to their deadly nature. For starters, their strength is much greater than usual, and there have been plenty of instances where Deadites have picked up extremely heavy and large objects without experiencing any considerable strain. They are also surprisingly durable, and they can withstand a wide range of injuries before falling to them. There have been cases where Deadites have been fired upon, and various other weapons have been used on them, and they have still managed to stand their ground. Some Deadites are also capable of levitating, and they have done so for brief periods of time. Apart from these supernatural abilities, the Deadites are also extremely fast and agile, and they can disappear from the sight of a target in a matter of seconds. Do the Deadites have shape-shifting abilities? The Deadites do possess shape-shifting skills to a certain degree. and this is probably one of their creepiest abilities. They can appear to be uninfected, so that the other beings that they wish to possess are easily deceived. Once the Deadites possess a body, they also gain access to the memories of the host, and they can use bits of this to further their trickery. This level of deception is also possible through certain bodily changes, and they can warp the body of the host in various hideous forms, and sometimes these forms hide particular features, like bat-like wings, that can be effective during combat. Can Deadites merge together, or jump from one host to another? The answer to both these questions is a resounding yes, and this makes their possession quite diverse and effective. Although the instance of body jumping is relatively rare, Deadite spirits can actually jump from host to host in the form of a fine mist, and they can do so without the intervention of the Kandarian demon. There is also another quality that is worth mentioning, and that is how the Deadites can merge into groups. We have seen a couple of cases where a group of Deadites merge together to form a much larger entity. How could the Deadites survive in space? In one particular reality, we have come across Ash Williams fighting Deadites on a space shuttle. In this version, the Deadites have been shown to be extremely well adapted to the cold void of space. This is probably because the Deadites have no real human weakness that would become a vulnerability in space. They don't need to breathe, and their skin and body do not need the conditions required by a human to survive. You can consider this to be a part of their supernatural ability, but the Deadites actually do not need any special gear to survive in space. What are the common features in Deadite appearances and characteristics? There is a wide range of Deadites found out there, and the appearance usually varies from one individual to another and depends on the body of the host. However, there are still some common points that can be observed in all Deadites. They usually have white pupilless eyes, and some even have yellow and red pupils. Even glowing red and glowing yellow pupils have been found. And some Deadites even show alteration to their eyes. The skin tone usually changes to gray and yellow or pale white colors. The bodily fluids like blood usually turns black, green, white, and blue. They also develop claws for slashing and digging, as well as to climb walls and ceiling. What are some of the major Deadite weaknesses that can be exploited? There have been several versions of Deadites across many realities, and their weaknesses have also been quite diverse depending on their versions. During the several instances of combating the Deadites, their weaknesses have been revealed one by one, and we will try to assemble some of the major ones. The Kandarian dagger is one of the most lethal weapons that can be used against the Deadites. Even a mere touch from its blade is enough to burn away the skin of all kinds of demons, and Deadites have been shown to explode upon impact with this deadly blade. The ancient weapon was discovered by Professor Raymond Noby during his exploration of the ruins of Castle Kandar, and since then, many have used it to fight the forces of evil. Over the course of time, we have observed various talismans that have provided a protective shield to those wearing them. Things like El Brujo's amulet, a chicken foot, or a Native American dream catcher have all been used to protect one from a Deadite possession. Holy objects, such as the Bible or holy water, had a clear impact on Deadites, and they have been shown to be extremely agonized when holy water burned their exposed skin. Although it is not a constant in every universe, sunlight has largely been shown as a weakness for Deadites in general. Speaking of magical and powerful objects and totems, the Ankh amulet could also suppress a Deadite as long as the wearer was not agitated, which would then allow the Deadite to override the charm of the necklace. Can a Deadite be killed? Deadites are not exactly immortal, but killing them is a lot more difficult than creating them in the first place. While they can be created simply by reading certain verses from a book, destroying them is quite challenging. And the biggest problem is that the death of a Deadite can never be assumed to be final. There are a few different takes on how to deal with Deadites in the franchise. And in Ash's Necronomicon, the book itself can be damaged to deter the Deadites. Reading out a particular spell from the book can stop their advances, but it all depends on the book. And some versions suggest that the notorious Kandarian demon may never be locked away permanently. Evil Dead 2013 suggested that burning the body could be a way to stop a Deadite, and overall, a commonality can be noted in bodily dismemberment, which seems to be an effective way to deal with a Deadite. Basically, Deadites are demons, and when the body is unusable, the possession becomes ineffective. We have come across the rare solution, where the transformation of Ash has been prevented by the power of love. But the most common method is still to dismember a possessed individual. Even if it is not killed per se, it will still be rendered ineffective and stop further chaos from spreading around the world. What are the different types of Deadites that have been observed. There have been several Deadite variations that have been encountered, and in this segment, we will explore some of the major ones. Deadites, for instance, were more like mindless zombies found in the ruins below Deca City 1. Then there were the digital Deadites that existed in multiple time frames and alternate realities. More commonly seen Deadites were the animal Deadites that were seen in a number of alternate realities. The brute Deadites are also worth mentioning, as these powerful beings mutated into giant gray-skinned muscular versions of their human hosts and had glowing red eyes and veins. Another intriguing Deadite form was the Deadite human hybrid, which was found across the multiverse. Other known Deadite types included the Lord Deadite, Deadite Queen of Darkness, and irradiated Deadites, and all of them were rarely found. Looking back at some of the deadliest Deadites in the franchise, of course, there have been lots of demons in the Evil Dead movies, and Deadites are basically demons that possess living hosts. They have been too many, but in this segment, we will bring you a few that are probably among the deadliest of all Deadites encountered in the franchise. Kooky. This is portrayed as the mascot of the local high school in Elk Grove, Michigan. The costume is adorable, but the reality becomes a lot more dangerous than the appearance when the person inside the costume is possessed by a Deadite. The cougar costume mascot turns into a sharp-toothed, blood-covered monstrosity, and if Kelly and Dalton did not intervene, this deadly mascot could have destroyed the entire Elk Grove High School. Ellie, she is the main antagonist of Evil Dead Rise, but what separates her from the other Deadites is just how much deadlier she is. Once she gets possessed by a Deadite, she attacks her sister and her children. She shows some very powerful supernatural powers, and her manipulative and cunning means are much greater than the other demons. She also has one of the highest kill counts among the Deadites, and it just goes on to show how dangerous Ellie is in the movie. Ash's hand. It is both comical and tragic when the hand of Ash Williams gets possessed. During the events of Evil Dead 2, Ash chops off his arm, but the hand still continues to live even though it is no longer attached to Ash. There are some memorable fight scenes featuring this hand, and this soon becomes one of the most frequently reoccurring villains of the franchise. Not only does it manage to escape from Ash multiple times, it also creates an evil clone of Ash Williams, the infamous Evil Ash. The Demonic Tree. This is another iconic Deadite in the franchise, and you have seen it in various appearances such as The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead 2013, and Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2. The tree is stationary, but it exerts such power over the forest that it becomes a deadly entity. There are records of some vicious and disgusting attacks conducted by this demonic tree. Marvelous Verdict. Easily among the most iconic movie monsters. Rarely will you come across movie monsters that are scary and powerful, and yet have a comedic side to them. This is what makes the Deadites so unique, and these dangerous villains have been the heart of the franchise, troubling the protagonists like Ash, Mia, and Beth. These demon-hunting heroes have been tested to their limits, and as we have discussed in this video, there have been some truly remarkable Deadites that they have encountered. For a franchise spanning over 4 decades, it is not easy to retain the charm of a constant threat, and Deadites have still managed to do that somehow. Do let us know in the comments below what you think of the unique Deadite anatomy, and which aspect of their anatomy has impressed you the most. Also, tell us what, according to you, can be an effective tool to deal with the Deadites. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.